Hey there, how's it going everybody? So in today's tutorial we're going to be learning about ArcGIS Pro notebooks. Okay, so ArcGIS notebooks are a section of Jupyter notebooks that have been embedded into the GIS software, which is ArcGIS Pro, which we'll be using in this tutorial. So that's a good thing that ArcGIS included these Jupyter notebooks into their software, starting from version 2 going upwards. So currently I'm using ArcGIS Pro version 2.6. so if you have a version 2 going upwards, I'm sure you have these notebooks within your software. Okay, so in today's tutorial we're going to be learning how we can leverage these notebooks, but we're not going to be going deep into analysis, but we're just going to be introducing you into these notebooks. Okay, so with that being said, right over here I have my ArcGIS Pro project open. So now what we need to do is we need to find these notebooks. So where can we find these notebooks? Okay, so these notebooks are embedded within the software, so you don't have to run separate installations in order to install these notebooks. All you have to do is navigate to this insert panel, and then over the insert panel we can see there's a notebook 2 here. So what we need to do is we just need to click new notebook, and then it's going to initialize a kernel, and then that kernel is going to contain our ArcGIS notebooks, which we are going to be using to run our analysis. Okay, so for those of you who have been into data analysis, I'm sure you know of Jupyter notebooks. So it's still the same concept with Jupyter notebooks, but the only difference is that in these notebooks, which are embedded within our ArcGIS software, they have spatial attributes and spatial performances enabled within, which allow us to manipulate and engineer our data within our GIS projects. Okay, so to get started, as you can see, it's the same interface within these notebooks, because it's just an extension of the Jupyter notebooks which has been added to this GIS software. Okay, so we're not going to be going into details. So what we can do here is okay, I'm just gonna navigate to this drop down here. As you can see, we can write code, we can write Markdown, we can write row and b convert or headings. Okay, so on this tutorial I'm going to be specifying more on code and Markdown. Okay, so I'm going to be introducing you to Markdown language. Okay, basically Markdown language it's a format which enables you to be able to speak with the people who are visualizing your data. So let's say you share notebooks with people, and then you want people to know what exactly has been going on within your notebooks. So that's what Markdown does for you within these notebooks. And then the code is actually the functions and the queries that you actually run and present your data within these notebooks. Okay, so with that being said, right now I'm just gonna go over the Markdown language. So I'm not going to be going deep into Markdown language. If you want to go deep, I've opened this tab for you within my browser. You just go to markdownguide.org and then go to the cheat sheet. It gives you like the syntax which you can use for Markdown language, and which you can use to easily communicate your data while it's analyzing and communicate with the people who you're going to be sharing this data with. Okay, so I'm just going to add a heading for this tutorial, for the sake of this tutorial. Okay, so I'm just gonna call this introduction to ArcGIS notebooks. So that's gonna be my introduction heading. As you can see, I've only added one hashtag at the beginning, as it says in the documentation here that this one represents H1. In terms, if it was HTML, we would be writing H1. Don't worry about the terms that I'm going to be using in this tutorial. We're going to be learning those in future videos. So yeah, okay, so I've introduced a heading here, but as you can see, it's not displaying anything yet. So what we have to do in these notebooks, in order for us to have a visualization within our data, we have to run each and every command that we pass through our notebooks. So that's why we have this run function here. So as soon as I run this, it's going to display this Markdown in the section below. So let me just do that so that you see how it's going to appear. So I'm just going to click on run, and now as you can see, there was a star here which represents that this block So the star which just appeared tells us that our code which is just typed in these small boxes is being executed. So whenever it produces this one, it basically means that our function has been executed, and it displays the number of the of the function that has been run. Okay, so as you can see here, I think there's something that went wrong with our code because it didn't give us the markdown that we're expecting. Okay, so I think I know what just happened. Okay, so as you can see, we have a navigational menu bar at the top here. So what I did is I just ran this as a code. As you can see here, the drop down specified that this is a code, so it just executed this as a code, which literally doesn't mean anything if it's like this. Okay, so what I have to do now is I have to tell these notebooks that what I'm trying to do here is write some markdown text. So what I have to do is I'm going to go to cell and then select the cell type, and then I click on markdown. So once it's on markdown, then that means I can be able to edit this cell. So let me just run that again. So as you can see here, it has produced the markdown that we're expecting, which is a human readable format. So we can go on ahead and add more meaning to this cell that we just executed. So let me just try and go back to the documentation and see what we can add. Okay, so let me just see what we can add. Okay, so I just want to add some bold text and some italicized text and see, so that you guys see how this all works. So I'm just going to go back to the cell that we just executed, then I just double click it to activate it, and then I just navigate down. So I'm just gonna activate some bold text here and say I hope you are going to learn well in this tutorial. And then I click that. Then I need to add some italicized text. Please pay attention. Yeah, and then I run that. So this is how it's going to appear in my within my notebook. So whoever is going to be reading these notebooks will know about the title of this notebooks, what it's all about. So yeah, that's a pretty interesting feature that we have within these notebooks. Okay, so now what we're going to do, in order for us to perform certain queries, certain functions, and actually be able to analyze our data, we have to import some libraries within our notebooks. So originally within our ArcGIS, we have to import certain libraries. So I'm just going to state what we have to import here. So I'm just going to type we have to import the following, and then I italize that, and then now I want to create a list. So I'm just going to navigate back and see what we need to do. So I'm just going to create an unordered list so that we list all the names of the libraries that we need to import. So I'm just gonna click on that, and then I'm just going to list. We need to import ArcGIS library. We need to import Pandas. Sorry, I spelled that wrong. Pandas. We also need to import our operating system, and we finally need to import the ArcPy library, which helps us execute Python code, since we're going to be using Python within these notebooks. So I'm just going to run that again, and then it's going to do that for us. Okay, so now let's actually go back. Let's actually go into typing some of this code which we're going to be executing. Okay, so now we need to import these libraries. And how are we going to import them? So the good thing about Python is that it's pretty simple. We just have to type in the commands, and the commands are more like we're just going to be typing in English. So in order to import our libraries, we just type import, and then for this we're going to be ArcGIS, and then we import another library, Pandas, and then we import another library, OS, and then we import another library, which is ArcPy. Okay, so what I've done here, I've just typed this code repetition all over and all over then. But what we could have done is we could have typed import ArcGIS, and then we specify that we want to import Pandas, and specify another library here. But anyway, let's just continue with what we've done originally. Okay, so I'm just going to execute this code so that it actually imports these libraries into our notebook. So I'm just going to run that, and as you can see, there's a star, which means it's actually executing this code. So I'm just going to give it a while for it to finish executing. Okay, so as soon as the number appears, that means it has finished executing this code of block that we just ran, and then it automatically goes on to the next cell, waiting for the next instructions or commands that we're going to be giving it. So I left out a few things here within this cell. So what we need to do is you find out that some of these libraries, we're going to be using them within our code, and it's going to be pretty annoying for us if we're going to be keep on typing pandas every time we need to use this library. So what we can do here is these notebooks come with a certain function which allows us to shorten some of these library names, and we can name them whatever we want. So for example, I'm just going to rename this pandas library to PD. So to do that, we just need to add some extra text. So I'm just going to add import pandas as PD, and then we run that, and then yeah, that has been run successfully. So what this means is that whenever we need to use this pandas library, is we need to call pandas using this PD, and we no longer have to type pandas again. All we have to do is just type PD. Okay, so since this is just an introduction, we're going to be importing our CSV data. So within my laptop here, I'm going to be using coronavirus statistics for Zimbabwe. Okay, so I've chosen to use these statistics for the 22nd of February 2021. So these are the CSV file which I'm going to be using within my notebooks. Okay, so let's just see how we import our notebooks. So let me just add some markup here to inform whoever's going to be using this notebook what we're going to be doing. So let me just I like to use italics, but I don't know what you guys like using, so let me just use italics. So I'm just going to navigate here and say this is going to be Markdown, and then I put some italics. So I'm just going to type we are going to be importing a CSV data file, and then I just type coronavirus data for Zimbabwe, and then I just run that so that whoever is going to be doing this knows what we're going to be doing. Oops, I left out another asterisk in order to make this, in order to italize this. So just gonna run that again, and then it has been italicized. Okay, so now let's import that data. So in order to import data, we don't just import data like just randomly, because we need to keep our notebook structured in such a way that it's going to be easy to reference this data whenever our code, because our code might actually grow to something like 100 lines, and it's going to be difficult to manage this code. So first of all, what we need to do is we need to define a variable which is going to store the location of this CSV file. So in this case, I'm just going to name it our data, and then I put an equal sign there, and then I put an R which just represents a relative path to that data. Okay, so this data is within my desktop. Actually, unfortunately, I didn't get to import it into my ArcGIS Pro, I'll say. So I don't think that's gonna hinder us from doing this tutorial. So I'm just gonna navigate to my CSV file here, and then I just click on it, then wait for it to get highlighted, and then I'm just gonna go on copy path. Okay, so I've actually copied the path to the CSV file which is within my desktop project COVID-19 Zimbabwe COVID-19 data, and within my provincial folder. So I've copied the path, and then what I have to do is I just have to paste the path here, and as you can see, it comes with its quotation marks already, and then the name of the file and all the subfolders that it's contained in. So it's contained in users, severe junior, desktop, projects, COVID-19, Zimbabwe, COVID-19 data, provincial, and then that's the name of the file, which is 22-2-21.csv. Wow, that's a really long path. So you see, well, now the advantage of declaring this variable is because whenever we're going to be needing to use this dataset, we don't have to type all this, but all we have to do is just call this variable that we just declared. So let me just run this cell in order for it to be stored within our notebooks. So I'm just going to click on run, and then yeah, it is run successfully. So as you can see, there's no star, which represents that the data is being executed. Okay, so what we want to do now is we need to call the Pandas library, which is going to help us read this data. So in order to do that, we need to call another variable again, which is going to store the Pandas read function. Okay, so you guys, if you don't really know like much of the syntax, I'd recommend that you go to Google and then you just type Pandas cheat sheets. It gives you like a clear outline in using Pandas dataset. But don't worry, for this tutorial we're going to be going through all that. Okay, so here I'm just going to be declaring another variable. So this time I'm going to be calling it data_df, and then put an equal sign. Then now remember what we said here, we declared Pandas as PD, so that means we don't have to be typing Pandas again. We just have to call PD, which is going to be representing Pandas, and then we call in the read CSV function. And then what data do we need to read? We need to read this data which is stored in users, severe junior, desktop, projects, COVID-19, Zimbabwe COVID-19 data, provincial, 22-2-21.csv. So we don't, if we hadn't declared this variable name here, we would have to go over and type this path again manually. So what we need to do now is we just need to import. We just need to call this variable within this function. So to do that, I'm just going to type our data like that, and then we just run this code block. Okay, so yeah. So like we said, our Markdown language actually helps us to be able to. Okay, so I might have slept a bit because I left out to actually put a markdown which explains what we're actually doing here. So okay, let me just, because I need to share this file with you guys after this tutorial so that you see how we can do some of these things. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a cell block on top of this one. So what I need to do is I just need to go on insert, and then I just insert cell above. Oh, oops, sorry, I was supposed to go here, so I'm just gonna highlight this field, and then I just go on insert cell above, which is going to highlight this. So let me just type this this markdown so that you guys are going to be able to understand what we did when I'm going to be sharing this with you. So I'm just gonna put some italics again, and then we are going to be calling the Pandas function that we just named PD, then the cell block below. So I hope that it's going to make you understand what we did when I share this with you. Okay, so at the top here we stated that we imported the CSV, and then we now called the Pandas. Okay, so what I didn't specify what this Pandas did. Okay, so this Pandas function, function is going to help us read the data and the data and be able to perform the next task. Okay, so let me just run that again. So yeah, I hope this is going to make you understand whenever you're going to be going through this notebook soon after this tutorial. Okay, so that's what we did here. you just code the PDR, and then it's going to be reading that. Okay, so now let me just type another markdown here. Okay, so now what we need to do here is we need to display records, the first 6 records, like a summary. So let's just take it, let's say that this data that we just imported had over like 1,000 rows, and obviously we can't be able to analyze this data like visually. Just imagine displaying 1,000 rows within this project. It's going to be like a long data set. So the Pandas library gives us an option for us to actually view the first 6 rows within our data. So in order for us to do that, we're just going to be able to call the head function, which is embedded within the Pandas library. So what I need to do here is I need to call this function, which has already read our data set that we just imported, and then I just call in the head function. Okay, so to do that, I need to call that data underscore df again, and then this time I put a full stop, and then I call the head function. So in order for us to know that this is a function, there's this parenthesis, and there's no parameter passed inside. Unlike within this function, we code a function which allows us to read the CSV, and then we added a parameter which gives us the path to this data set. I know it's actually a lot to digest at this moment, but that's how this library, this Pandas library actually works. So I'm just going to type in the Markdown for you guys to understand. Okay, so now I'm just going to type display the first 6 rows within our data set to create a data frame using the Pandas head function. So I need to make this bold enough, okay, like that. So now it's going to be bold, and it's going to allow us to visually see that. So I'm just going to run that block again, and then now I'm just going to execute this code and see what it's going to produce for us. So I'm just going to click on run, and there it is, produced the first section of our code. So as you can see now, we have this first 6 rows. So it's gonna be this first row which contains the title, and then this row which starts from 0 and then up to 4 there. So this makes it 5, and then the heading makes it the 6th row. So this is just a summary of our data which is actually contained within our CSV file. So as you can see, within the CSV file we have some values where there was 0, where there was no figure, and then it displays this as NA, and which basically means that there was nothing in these rows. Okay, so that's basically how you import data within your ArcGIS notebook. So for this tutorial, we're going to be ending here. Okay, so before we end this tutorial, I'm just going to show what you guys actually need to do so that you're able to come back to this project whenever we close this software. Because if you just close the software like this, we're not going to be able to see these notebooks, and I'm also not going to be able to share this notebook with you guys. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to save this notebook. So as you can see, within our navigational menu, we now have notebook options. So I'm just going to navigate to notebook, and then I'm just going to click on save here, and it's actually going to save this notebook within my projects folder. As you can see here, it has been named a new notebook new notebook with the brackets 1. Okay, so I actually need to rename this in order for me to be able to actually come back to this notebook. So I'm just going to leave the extension there. Just going to rename this. What name can I give it? So I'm just going to rename it to introduction to ArcGIS Notebooks. And then I just click on save, and then it's, as you can see, the tab here has been renamed. So I think it's still trying to rename. Okay, yeah, then it has renamed this section. Oops, where did our notebook go? Okay, yeah, it was now reloading because we just renamed the notebook. Okay, so yeah, so this is an introduction to ArcGIS Notebooks. So I'm going to be sharing this with you guys over my ArcGIS portal, so that you can download and actually get to see the syntax and wait for future videos that we're going to be releasing, and based on functions that we're going to be executing within these ArcGIS notebooks. Okay, so I hope you guys are going to be using these notebooks to analyze data within your GIS projects, because notebooks actually give you a greater advantage in terms of analyzing, because you might find out that some functions might not be contained within your toolbox, which is within your ArcGIS Pro software, and you might need to run some extra functionality, or you might actually need to manipulate data or engineering some data, geo enrichments, like all that stuff. So yeah, this was just a basic introduction, and hopefully in the next videos we're going to be doing a bit of using this Pandas dataset and show you what this Pandas dataset is actually capable of. Okay, so that's it for now. Please share, like, and subscribe to the YouTube channel in order for us to keep making these videos in the future. And please, if you have anybody who would like to learn ArcGIS, please share with them these videos. It's also going to be useful for them and useful to us too. See you in the next tutorial.